What's up, people? Joe Winko here, your favorite Hawaiian guy, and here's my next episode of Joe Winko Talk. This is going to be a pretty serious episode of Joe Winko Talk. It's nothing too personal, honestly, but it's just something that I really been needing to talk about and something that everyone should have done and everyone should be doing. Everyone really needs to get their COVID vaccines because this new variant, Omicron, is spreading faster than any other variant of the coronavirus. I've been watching NBC News a lot. It's what I've been watching literally ever since this pandemic began. They've been talking about this Omicron variant, and I never thought that we would be back in this situation. I mean, yeah, I knew that there would be more variants to the coronavirus and everything like that, but I never thought that I would actually be afraid to leave the house again. Ever since I heard about this Omicron variant, I've been staying at home and keeping away from everyone. Even though I'm already vaccinated and boosted, I still don't want to take any risk with this. And if everyone was vaccinated and boosted, they wouldn't be at risk of these variants developing because everyone would be immune to it, honestly. But the reason why we have these variants spreading everywhere is because of unvaccinated people. Yeah, there's a lot more breakthrough cases of coronavirus nowadays since this virus had so many opportunities to mutate. But the thing with the vaccines is those protect you from becoming hospitalized or dying of COVID. And the vaccines also protect everyone around you too. They also give the virus less opportunity to mutate since the virus can't affect your cells as easily. It's honestly really disappointing how many people are not taking coronavirus seriously after so many people died of it so far. I mean, even earlier, I was talking to some of the people who I matched with on Tinder, and I always tell them, if you're not vaccinated for coronavirus, I don't want to have anything to do with you because why would I want to meet up with you if you're not vaccinated for COVID? Seriously. That would be like me going back to Clearwater with my adoptive dad's brothers. It's stupid, so no way, honestly. I mean, seriously, when someone's not vaccinated for COVID, that basically shows that they don't care about their own health, that they're not taking coronavirus seriously. Not only do they not care about their own health, they don't care about the health of the people around them, and they don't care if they get infected with this virus. Maybe they won't have bad symptoms of it, but the virus can mutate and they can pass it on to someone else who might actually end up dying of it. And I don't want to be around anyone like that, seriously. I already spent 2 years of my life living with two idiots like that. So I wanted to do this episode of Joe Winko Talk to encourage everyone to get their vaccines, honestly. I already got my vaccines. I got the first dose of the Moderna vaccine in September 2020 because I was part of the vaccine trials. I got the second dose in October 2020. And if I hadn't joined that vaccine trial, I honestly do not think that I would be alive right now because I was living with my adoptive dad's brothers who weren't taking this coronavirus seriously at all. And I was in danger that whole entire time, and it was a very stressful time for me. I mean, luckily things are different now. My adoptive parents have me living in this vacation home that they're renting in a different part of Florida, and I don't have to deal with my adoptive dad's brothers anymore, and I spend a lot of time by myself, exactly how I would want it to be in a time like this, honestly. Because I'm considered high risk. I'm African American, I'm also mixed with Native American, and I'm also part Pacific Islander. All three of those ethnicities are more likely to die of coronavirus than normal people. And I also have type 1 diabetes, which is a health condition that puts me in the high risk category, which is why I have to be careful with this stuff. And which is also why everyone should get their vaccines and their booster shots as soon as they're available. I actually read online that if you have the two shots of the Moderna or Pfizer vaccine and you also have the booster shot too, it does pretty well in protecting you from the Omicron variant. I'm still waiting for them to release a vaccine specifically targeting the Omicron variant, but I'm not exactly sure when that's going to come out. I remember hearing that they would have one out in 100 days, and I read about this way back in December, so it should be like in 60 or 70 days by now, so roughly 2 months. By March they should have it out. But I still haven't been hearing any news about that. I also heard that if you get a second booster shot, as in a fourth booster shot, and increase your antibody levels, that also helps protect you from the Omicron variant. And that's what I'm planning on doing, because I got my booster shot back in August of 2021. It's almost been 6 months. I'm planning on getting it in February. Another thing that I need to vent about is that I'm happy that I live in a new part of Florida now, but the healthcare professionals down here in Florida are not taking this seriously at all. I actually had my first visit to my primary care doctor, and he was asking me, like, I had on all my PPE. I'll have a picture of it on here somewhere. It's what I wear whenever I go out. He actually asked me, why do you have all that stuff on? My doctor asked me this, and I was just like, this is what I said, quote unquote. In case you haven't noticed, there's a deadly pandemic that's sweeping the nation and killing thousands of people every single day. That's why I have this on. And then he just looked at me like I was nuts, even though it absolutely is true. And that's down here in Florida, one of the states with the highest coronavirus death tolls in the whole entire USA. But I definitely understand if that's how our healthcare professionals are treating this virus seriously. You would think out of all people that the doctors would be smart enough to take this seriously, but apparently they aren't. And there's also another thing. This whole thing that the CDC, or I don't know who the fuck released this, if it was the CDC or the World Health Organization, they said that if you test positive for COVID, after 5 days, you can come back into work or whatever you do and not quarantine anymore. As in, if a police officer, firefighter, or doctor tests positive for coronavirus, 5 days later, you can go back in, even after testing positive for coronavirus, even though that's not enough time for the virus to leave your system. You can go back in and just keep working and keep exposing everyone else around you to coronavirus. That is literally the dumbest thing ever. And you know, the CDC is actually thinking about taking that back and reversing what they just called out, but I feel like the damage has already been done. I don't even feel comfortable visiting my doctor at all. I mean, based on that comment he made about me wearing the PPE, trying to keep myself safe, asking me why am I wearing all that? What a fucking dumbass. How the hell are stupid people like that even allowed to be doctors anyway? Well, only in the state of Florida. Or in the state of Wisconsin, now that I think of it, because in Wisconsin, they definitely don't take this shit seriously either. It's even worse up there. Don't even get me started on how bad the healthcare in the state of Wisconsin is. It's just messed up, really. However, I saw on the news, and I also saw in a bunch of doctor videos I've been watching on YouTube, that since the Omicron variant is spreading so fast and so rapidly, that it might actually end up ending the pandemic, because once everyone gets infected with it, they won't be able to get infected again unless a new strain of coronavirus emerges. But it's messed up, seriously. And there's people who aren't taking the vaccine just because of the breakthrough cases. Hillary Duff actually had a breakthrough case of coronavirus. She was pretty sick from it too. But if it wasn't for the vaccine, she probably would have died, and that would have been horrible because I love Hillary Duff. People seriously aren't getting it. The vaccines protect you from becoming hospitalized or from dying of coronavirus. Every single breakthrough case of coronavirus, if they hadn't have had the vaccine, they probably would have died from it, which is why it's important to get the vaccine. And with a lot of people, the vaccine actually does protect them from getting coronavirus, even the Omicron variant. But again, nothing's ever foolproof. That's why I always wear my mask, my face shield, and my goggles whenever I go out. And that's why I always keep away from everyone, and that's why I always keep to myself, really. It's kind of upsetting because I've been getting really stir crazy with being in this house so much, really. But then I look at the date on the calendar. It's January right now. And then I look at the map of all the places I've been wanting to road trip to. Well, first of all, I can't even find anyone to take me to those places, but I look at the map anyway, and I just think to myself, it's way too cold in all those places for me to be running around with no shirt doing YouTube videos outside anyway. And if the Omicron vaccine is only 70 days away, 70 days from now it'll be March. And majority of those places on the map will have warmed up by then. And hopefully I find someone to take me to them by then. I mean, with the spell work I've been doing, hopefully those take effect. But yeah. And that's what I think to myself, really. But I've been keeping to myself, trying to stay safe. And I have been tested for coronavirus more often than you guys think, and all of my tests always come back negative, and I'm really happy about that at least. Also, it turns out that my adoptive dad's brothers, the two idiots who I was living with, both of them ended up contracting coronavirus, but it was long after I left. It was actually a couple weeks ago that they both ended up getting coronavirus, so thank God I got the hell out of that place, really. I mean, I've been trying to get out of there for a long time, but my adoptive parents finally helped me get out of there now. Unfortunately, they didn't die from it at all. No, my adoptive dad's brothers recovered perfectly fine from coronavirus, and they didn't die from it at all, which I'm honestly really upset about, honestly. I mean, I figured that they would recover fine from it and not be affected at all because they don't have any underlying health conditions. But I'm not sure if you guys remember my Canary in the Coal Mine episode of Joe Winko Talk back in 2020 when I had that creepy dream. Well, it wasn't really that creepy now that I think of it, but it was kind of eerie. That dream when I woke up alone in the house and my adoptive dad was calling me on the phone telling me that he was so glad that I didn't die of coronavirus like my adoptive dad's brothers did, and he told me that both of them were on ventilators and that they both died and that they were going to be burying their bodies in the cemetery tomorrow. I was convinced that, well, I wouldn't say convinced, but I had this slight idea on the back of my head that if they caught coronavirus, they would end up dying. And it would honestly serve them right, really, because I can't stand them, but that's worthy of a whole new other episode of Joe Winko Talk. But unfortunately, they didn't. They recovered from it, and they still aren't taking it seriously at all either. And I'm kind of pissed off about that, but don't worry. Karma will strike both of them in every way, as they both deserve it. But that's basically what I wanted to tell everyone. Make sure to get your vaccine, seriously. Don't let this virus spread. Don't let it mutate. Because eventually what might end up happening is that it might be able to evade the vaccines much more efficiently than Omicron. And that seriously wouldn't be good at all. That would set us back to square one. A lot of times I feel like we almost are back at square one. But seriously, make sure to get your vaccines. So that's basically it for this episode of Joe Winko Talk. My first 2022 episode of Joe Winko Talk. I'm going to try to find some more happier stuff to talk about. If you guys think of any happier stuff for me to talk about, let me know in the comments of this video. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. So that's it. Peace out, people.